that if you ever ask a centipede, centipede is a insect with 100 legs, that which leg to put first, do you put first when you walk? He will never be able to walk again. To me, most of the problems we have are due to that we think too much. Even a slight thinking for someone or simple mundane task that we do every day, right? Walking. If I were to ask you which leg you put first, right? You will be struggling to walk after that.
Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to Shruti Outloud Podcast, your go to destination for inspiring stories, insightful discussions, and practical wisdom on embracing the ever changing journey of life. I am your host, Shruti, and I'm thrilled to have you join me on this transformative path towards self discovery and growth. We have really dipped our feet when it comes to professional life, when it comes to personal life, and we keep bringing guests who can inspire you, who can motivate you, and who can help you lead the life that you want to live, either professionally or personally. And that is our sole purpose, and that is what we have been doing for past 3 years. And yes, it is going to be 4 years very soon. So this journey has been very wonderful. It has been such a good and great learning for me as well, because whenever we bring a guest, we have to make sure that we are doing the right research so that we can ask the right questions which are relevant in today's time, and as well as possibly few years down the line as well, and who knows, maybe 100 years later also these episodes will still be relevant. So our today's guest is coming from an industry that we haven't really talked about a lot before, and guest is from the world of technology. So let me give a little introduction of him before bringing him on board. So today we are honored to have Sanjay Sehgal, Chairman and CEO of the MSys Group, MSys Technologies, a visionary leader renowned for his innovation in digital transformation. And we are living in the digital era. So I am really looking forward to all the great knowledge that he's going to bring on board. So, with a plethora of accolades, including being named the most innovative digital transformation CEO in 2019, Sanjay's expertise spans across IT services, automation software, and strategic acquisitions. Not only a thought leader, featured in esteemed publications like Forbes and TechCrunch, but Sanjay also advocates for global consciousness shift, and serves on advisory boards of prestigious institutions. So, join us as we uncover the inspiring journey and impactful endeavors of this motivational influencer and humanitarian. Welcome to Shruti Outloud Podcast, Mr. Sehgal.
Thanks, Shruti, for having me.
Mr. Sehgal, we are really looking forward to dip into the world of technology with you. And we have a list of questions that I'm very excited to ask you. And especially, there is one question which I'll mention, which I am really looking forward to ask you. But yes, there is one particular question which I'm very, very keen on. So, before going ahead, so I have given a little introduction of you in a very in that a very organized manner, but I would like to hear from you as well. How do you describe, or how do you uh, think when it comes to Sanjay Sehgal? What do you think?
What I think about myself, that would be completely different from what you have mentioned so far. I consider myself as a heartful human. And why I say that is that I think all my life, when I look back, I think everything that I've done has been guided by my heart. And mind has played role, obviously. I mean, at times, but mind has played role only in being able to access the information that is stored there and analysis and all. Often I give this example that if you ever ask a centipede, centipede is a insect with 100 legs, that which leg to put first. Do you put first when you walk? He will never be able to walk again. To me, most of the problems we have are due to that we think too much. Even a slight thinking for someone or simple mundane task that we do every day, right? Walking. If I were to ask you which leg you put first, right? You will be struggling to walk after that. And I think that's just a small example. Same thing goes with everything else that we do in life. More and more we can turn towards our heart in making our regular decisions, gut, as we say, right? Often people say gut feeling. Gut feeling is nothing but what your heart says in many ways. And in some ways it could be different too, but in majority of the cases it is similar. And that's what, if 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 our lives are guided by our heart, our feelings, I think they'll be a lot more calmer, peaceful, and heartful.
I completely agree with you, Mr. Sehgal, that right now we are in that era where there is a big bunch of people who go ahead with what their mind says, and they want to be very practical, and they don't want to get their heart into the middle of it all. And then there is a section who go ahead with their heart, and then there are some who sort of they find the right balance.
That is correct. That is correct. And I think right balance, in a way, is perhaps the key. See, as you said, today's era where information, if we really want to get access to information, we all can have it. I mean, whether you're rich or poor, you are in India or America or anywhere else in the world, you can all have access to the same information. So, how to make the best use of that information is the key. And that comes from some of the cognitive abilities one has, synthesis abilities one has, and also feelings that will help you determine. One of my friends who's a management consultant, he often says that future generation, a child is born, instead of going to, I mean, currently we all have devices. I mean, currently the devices are now on the Vision Pro is on your eyes, right? Soon it will all come down to a chip, right? A chip that you will install in somewhere, some part of your body inside, and you have access to everything. Then how will a human being one, a human being A, be different from human being B? And that will be the things like your heart. And I think that's where we are leading towards.
I completely agree with you on that note as well. That um, currently, I think for past 2 3 years or so, there is a shift that is really happening, and wherein people are understanding the value of understanding your heart, your gut feeling, which for a very long time people were being very very practical. And that is why when I said that there is a bunch of people who work with the balance of heart and mind. So I think that is what we as a consciousness completely overall are moving towards. Let's start with what inspired you to establish MSys Technologies. I am digressing a bit from the topic that we were discussing because that is something that I have saved for the last part. Uh, and what core values did you infuse into its foundation?
So my motivation when I started MSys, MSys is a product engineering services provider. It's a mouthful, product engineering service provider. We're not an IT company. We are primarily a technology. We develop technology for our clients, and our clients are mostly in the Western world, in US. A majority of them are in US, almost 95% of them, and they tend to be startups. Though many of them now have grown to be very big companies, but at least when we started, or when I was inspired to start, I felt, when I started this company, there were already these big giants like Infosys, TCS. They already existed. So I felt, all these guys, they are, doing a great job, growing well, but they are for the bigger companies. Now, the smaller startups looking for innovative work to be done, by a service provider in this part of the world, in India or even in America or other parts of the world, didn't have many choices. And I myself, prior to doing MSys, I had done some startups, some venture funded startups myself. And I always struggled to find people. And so I felt there is a niche here, there's a need, there's a gap in the market that all these big guys are providing services to all the big IT companies, Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan, Bank of America, Citibank, all this stuff. And then you have these garage shops, which are providing to the smaller companies, very small companies. But in between the innovation layer to a mid-sized small startup has already raised $30 million, is looking to get some work done, want to find a partner which is as innovative, innovation centric as startup is, where do they go? So with that approach or with that motivation, I started the company. And my values in the company that I instilled, one was very product centric approach. So some of the initial guys we hired were the guys who had already done a product, a software product, engineering product, software engineering product. So that it is their part of the DNA. I came from similar market myself. It took me a while to learn the services mindset or acquire the services mindset. So the initial set of people, our VP of engineering, our CTO, all came from some product knowledge, product companies. And the first thing they will ask a customer, they will not ask how many people you need. They will ask what problem are you looking to solve. So I think that it is kind of that really has helped us establish ourselves. And then other value was I believed at that time and even now in empowering those who work with me. And I don't micromanage people, and I don't want to encourage the people who work for me to micromanage others, because then the you learn to take responsibility for your own actions, yourself. So that kind of is the second value I try to instill in everyone who worked for me or worked in the company. In fact, I rarely use the word worked for me, worked in the company or worked with me rather. And I think that it has continued like that. And I'm very happy to see the growth and happy to see how people have grown with the company and the company has grown with the people.
Mr. Sehgal, when we talk about technology, there are a lot of innovations that are happening literally every day. So, how do you foster an environment of innovation within your company, and what role does it play in the constantly evolving tech industry?
See, there are many innovations. Of course, everybody keeps talking about artificial intelligence, but there are more things than that, you know. And a lot of things I find, a lot of innovation comes from what we refer to as open source projects. The projects which get started by some engineering genius, some software genius somewhere in his garage, in his desktop, in his laptop or something, and he decides to make it open source. In especially in US, which is kind of at the forefront of technological innovation, and also now these days India is also coming up pretty well. The majority of the innovations don't come from the big companies. They come from some smart guys sitting with their machine somewhere and they have this idea and they decide to make it open source. Now, of course, the businesses start, they take the open source and then they wrap it around with some, wrap around some really cool stuff around, and then make a use case out of it to develop a business around it. And a number of innovations have come like that and they will continue to. The way I do is we dedicate a bunch of resources, a set of resources in our company to participate in such open source projects. So we are also participating. I cannot say that we are as innovative as the guy who's sitting somewhere who's come up with the first project. No, but we are not too far behind. We start we still look at those open source projects and look at the ones which are relevant to us in our market, and we start participating with them, start contributing to that, and then it continues. And then, of course, some companies, some of those bets have paid off really well. Some, of course, don't see the light of the day, and which is fine. That's a risk we all take when you are in the innovation part of the innovation journey. These are the risks you take. Not every innovation becomes useful to the people or find its market at the right time. Some are ahead of time, some are most of them are ahead of time.
So, Mr. Sehgal, talking about the risk, how important it is for somebody to understand the world in itself and how to change their mindset when it comes to taking risks.
Shruti, when I conduct many podcasts and sessions for startups or budding entrepreneurs, usually my line there is be bindas, and bindas here to me means risk taker. And I think in the era, I know I'm a lot older than you and perhaps many of your viewers, and in the era that I grew up in, risk was not the word in our dictionary. And for some reason, I realized that I was quite different from the people around me. Even when I, look at my classmates in school or college, with the exception of one or two guys, nobody else, did business. And even the guys who did business because they were encouraged by their families. In my family, there was no businessmen, and everybody kind of, was in the government service. So the preferred path was go in that direction. And now I'm very happy to see how today's generation is completely different. I recently met a class somewhere in college in MBA, and out of, let's say, 30 students, 25 of them wanted to start some business or the other. It was very encouraging to see. So to me, the risk taking is nothing but, in a way, coming out of your own constraints that you have put on yourself. I'm not going to say risk taking is the market, you will start betting things and all. Risk taking is an attitude. Even in your job, you can be a risk taker. You've been asked to write a piece of code, let's say, or let's say write a report, or let's say come up with a business model, revenue model, depending upon your education or your job. Even there, you can be a very safe guy who puts a lot of constraints around himself or herself, and then works along the direction given to him or her. Or you can be a risk taker. To me, entrepreneurship is an attitude, that one acquires, it can learns or acquires when one unleashes its own constraints. And that to me is risk taking. And anybody can be a risk taker, or everybody should be a risk taker, some amount of risk taking. Beyond that amount, you could be stupid, right? So it is, I would say, how much risk you want to take. And of course, unless you take, you will not know how much you should take. And that is up to you.
Absolutely. Mr. Sehgal, I have a statement here and I want to ask you how much do you agree with it? While when you were answering this question, this just, popped up. So I thought I'll just ask you. Um, Risks are the hidden opportunities. What do you think
Yeah, I
about
mean, that's absolutely. Risks are the hidden opportunity. Risk you take, unearth the opportunities. Unless you take the risk, there's a similar saying that I often use: unless you move, you can't steer. To steer a car, you have to start moving first, right? And to me, the moving here is the risk taking. So unless you take risk, you will be ignoring a lot of opportunities that are out there.
it? Right. So, talking about the trends nowadays, we are living in that time where trends is a very much used word everywhere, either with content creators or in every industry. Trends is one highly used words. So, from your perspective, what emerging technology trends do you foresee shaping the future of IT services and automation software?
I mean, we have kind of briefly touched upon in artificial intelligence is obviously at the top of the list. Machine learning is next one, I would say, and then the blockchain technology, though it has been around for some time and is being talked about at the height of or the at the height of cryptocurrencies, the blockchain was really at the forefront of everything. But last few years, I would say 2, 3 years since COVID, cryptocurrencies have gone down in value. But blockchain is a lot more than that. Blockchain is, to me, is a new database, and of course, no code. In terms of those who understand among your viewers about technology, the no code technology is. I mean, all these are the new trends, and then those who are uh, studying or training themselves, they should equip themselves in learning these things. These They're saying that from now onwards, there won't be any software development which doesn't have some elements of artificial intelligence embedded in it. Now, to what level, and of course, there are problems to be solved still out there, and how they'll solve it. I mean, you may have heard this. I mean, even Paytm or Zomato or Swiggy, all the companies in India, even, or all the companies in US, Uber, Ola, and all these companies, or Airbnb, they all have some degree of artificial intelligence. Now it depends on how much more you want to add, and they'll keep adding. They'll become so intelligent that they will just, as you are thinking, they will be able to know what you want to order or what you want to get, and it will be there. you know
As we can see, even when we talk about Uber or Zomato or all of these e-commerce platforms, even so, they already are so smart that through your searches or this, that, they have these set algorithms, and they refer to you, or they sort of, give you those pop-ups on your phone, and they're already there, and you people are very confused that, okay, we were just talking about this, how come this pop-up is already there? So as you are mentioning, we are slowly and steadily moving in that direction already.
that is correct. That's 100% correct. We are I mean, those were actually based on some set algorithms. What you see, many of those things were based on set algorithms. They didn't have intelligence. Now they will become so intelligent, they will guess before you even search for it.
Now that would be very crazy, that you are just thinking about it and it's already there. Like, you haven't even put that idea out there, but you are seeing everything is sort of I think this, when we talk about manifestation, I think this is somehow, this will somehow connect with that, that that kind
That's
of manifestation will
yes, yes.
merge with the artificial intelligence.
It is. It will. Yes.
All right. So, Mr. Sehgal, now while talking to you, I can see, and even in the very beginning itself, you had mentioned the word patience. So, my next question is somehow related to it, and also while having this conversation, um, the energy that I am getting. I don't want to use the word aura or vibe because I don't want to use those words, but yes, energy is the right word that should be used here. So, Mr. Sehgal, could you share your experiences and insights on the role of meditation and self development in enhancing personal and professional growth?
See, I came across meditation when I was fairly young. I had just graduated from college and worked for a year in India. Then I moved to US. And within few months of moving to US, I came across someone who used to meditate. We all knew about I knew about meditation, but I never attempted it, never tried it, never thought that I should do or would do. My kind of family I grew up in, we were not very religious, but still kind of these things were not part of our conscious setup. So I started as an experiment. Now everything that I have done in my life, I don't want to use the word achieved, but done or experienced in my journey last several years, I owe it to meditation. It's like I came across a set of glasses, and those glasses changed the view completely for me. Now, for me, the world view, the people view, The view around me is completely different. Now, if I remove those glasses, I can't even imagine going back. It's like, you started watching color TV or these days OLED TV. Now you can't go back to black and white, right? So it is like that. It has been true. I would recommend that in your among your viewers, any startup guys or even non-startup guys. Every young person should do some meditation in their lives. I personally practice heartfulness meditation, and I've been doing that for a number of years. And it is taught free to everyone who's interested and willing. But you can take up anything. It doesn't matter. Heartfulness or something else, and you will find that it gives you a different perspective within yourself. Two major changes I find that meditation brings: how well you can relate to yourself and how well you can relate to the outside world. And these two are needed when you're young, when you're middle age, or when you're old. I mean, these become part of your life forever. How well you relate to yourself, how well you relate to others or to the outside world. And that is very essential.
Mr. Sehgal, would you like to recommend any books or any podcast or any documentary or anything on those lines to our audience to um, move towards that direction? Because sometimes people have a lot of questions and maybe something like that might help them.
Sure. I think there are two books come to mind. One is called The Heartfulness Way. As I said, I practice heartfulness. It's a very well written book, The Heartfulness Way, and it was published by Juggernaut, publisher here in India, and overseas in US and other countries also it's available. It's published in about I think 20 plus languages all over the world, and that is a very good book for beginners. And the other book which has recently been released in India and in US called Spiritual Anatomy. We all are aware of our physical anatomy, and so much trillions of dollars are spent in making sure our body stays healthy. Now, a little secret is, or a bigger secret is here, that everything that happens in our body is related to our spiritual anatomy. Every emotion that we have is part of our, or either affects or is symptom of something that is happening with our spiritual anatomy. And if we can understand and we can learn the ways to alter it, we can become much better human being, both personally and professionally. So, Spiritual Anatomy is a recently released book. That is another one which is very well suited for any new beginner.
Thank you for recommending those. And I'm sure that because when it comes to the meditation aspect, a lot of people are confused and they have a lot of questions and they don't know how to experience, what to experience. And sometimes when people like you, they who have been doing it, who have been practicing it, and suggestions come from people who have been doing it, it helps people find those answers and sort of resolve those questions that they might be having before taking that path.
Sure, absolutely. And I'm happy to take up any question. People can write to me or they can write to you and you can forward those to me. Either way, I think I'm happy to answer those questions about, as I said, now I can say that I've been uh, a number of years that I have been meditating are much longer than the number of years outside of meditation. I started when I was 22, 23 years old. I was young, and often people say, "Oh, young people shouldn't meditate. Do it when you're older and all." I think it's incorrect. Sooner you start in your life, better off you would be, because then you would be your value system, your consciousness, would be developed using those, that the evolution that comes out of the practices like meditation.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mr. Sehgal, for touching this topic with us. So, coming to the next question, you were a part of a panel discussion on consciousness shift in global leadership. Could you elaborate on the significance of this shift and its implications on leadership today?
Sure. See, the I had actually spoken about the leadership in this decade several times, and I see that consciousness shift that we see in humanity being largely responsible for this. To me, consciousness is nothing but degree of awareness, how aware you are, about yourself and about external world, as I said, earlier about meditation. So that shift has brought up, I mean, major shift that it has brought up this decade is the inclusive leadership. We've all kind of known concept like servant leadership and this leadership. You see all the major corporation, it is in play in all the major corporations in the world, whether it be Google, Microsoft, Apple, Facebook, and all their CEOs. And I'm talking primarily about tech industry, but even in non-tech industry, you will find that where the leaders are no longer the old dictatorial, autocratic founders, but they are the people who involve everybody, the entire management, entire employee set, whether it be 20 employees or 20,000 or 200,000 employees, they involve all of them in the growth of the company. And that is in play, is happening as we speak. And that's how the companies are being run. Successful companies are being run today. And something that budding entrepreneurs should learn from. That era, the old era of, we used to joke about the Steve Jobs syndrome, that every startup CEO used to think I'm Steve Jobs, and they'll behave like him. But that era is gone. Steve Jobs is gone. He's a great guy. He had his time. But that era is gone. Times are different now.
Thank you, Mr. Sehgal, once again. I don't know how many times I'll have to thank you for answering all the questions that I have for you because you are bringing in so much knowledge to this episode that I am full of gratitude that we are having this conversation. It's a very beautiful mix of technology and spirituality in a way. So it's a perfect mix for me. It's a perfect mix for me. So coming to the other side, as an angel investor and advisor for tech startups, what criteria do you consider before choosing to invest or advise a particular company? I know we have touched this topic in the initial discussion a bit, but if you could go a bit more into the depth of it, that would be very helpful.
See, usually it's my criteria is, of course, I say there are five questions any startup CEO or entrepreneur should be able to answer about the deck or about the presentation the pitch they are making to me or to anyone for that matter. That what problem they are solving, how big of a problem that is, and how they are solving it, what kind of unique value proposition they are bringing to that. And then comes to important questions. Why now? And that is majority of the startups fail. Either they are ahead of time or they are behind. So why now and why you? Why are you uniquely positioned to solve that problem? So if they can answer that question for themselves or for me, I'm interested in looking at it, right? And I do get pinged by many people over LinkedIn or other platforms, but I don't find many people are kind of looking at all these things. Of course, the ones who are looking at these things are going to the bigger investors and they are getting funded. I mean, I'm not saying nobody looks at it, but I'm saying that the budding entrepreneurs who are yet to, I mean, the guys who are not yet done Oyo, Swiggy, Zomato, or Uber or Airbnb, they need to start looking at things in this way, through these eyes, through these set of things. What problem you're solving, how big of a problem. Most important is how big of a problem that is. We all want to solve problems in the world, but how big and how you're solving, what is a unique proposition you're bringing to that solution, and why now?
That is a wonderful way of approaching this because you need to know your where do you stand and what is it that the purpose that you are serving. And why is it you, as you said? All right. Uh, Mr. Sehgal, lastly, how do you envision the role of technology in shaping a more interconnected and conscious global community?
See, Shruti, I feel, imagine a world where everything is all mundane tasks are being done by a robot, some robots or some AI machine, right? Is being done by them. Then we all will have a lot of time to be connected, to pay attention to our inner consciousness, right? And to be able to serve humanity. What excuse you often hear for people not being able to meditate? I don't find time. What if you have all the time in the world because you don't have to cook, you don't have to go to the market to get things, you don't have to shop, then you have all the time and you can sit back and relax and be peaceful, be heartful about things that you are supposed to do eventually, right? So I think technology has a very big role to play in this because I feel, excuse me, current era of technology has made everybody very busy because we are on the social media all the time. Imagine a world where we don't have the need to do this, right? And all this information now, for example, even guy like me, I go to 4 different social media channels to check. I'm looking for an app or some mechanism where all these things come to one, right? And as an example, and through artificial intelligence, it can really figure out what I'm interested in, just present only those things to me. I don't need to look at everything, as an example. So if that happens, my time will be saved. Suppose I'm spending 1 hour looking through social media. If this such a device comes, I wouldn't have to. I have answered your question, I hope. And let me know if there are any other questions. I'm happy to take those up.
I find this a very beautiful perspective, and this is the first time I have heard someone um, looking at it in that way, that this is how technology can make our life much more simpler, because you will have time to do a lot of things that you don't have time to do right now. So I absolutely salute to you for bringing this forth, because I think this is definitely going to change perspective for a lot of people who keep questioning it, or who keep doubting it, or keep being in that zone with, oh, I don't know how this is going to be, I don't know what is going to happen to this da 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 da, and finding reasons to just not be okay with a particular situation. But I think this particular point is going to be a game changer, because if people start looking at it in this manner, it is going to resolve a lot of things for them.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think let's see, let's hope. I think in the first, as I said, the current era is where we are keeping all your senses busy with technology. Soon, I think it will shift. Sooner or later, one startup will come up with things like this, and you will find it changes the whole world.
Thank you, Mr. Sehgal. Thank you so much. I am so full of gratitude for having you on this episode and having these conversations with you. As I said, it is a beautiful mix of technology and spirituality meditation. And I'm pretty sure my audience, they will also be able to connect with both the things, because both of these things are completely, as I said, that the trending the trending
Trending.
words right now.
That's
So
right.
you
That's
have
right. That's
touched
right.
so you have touched two of the most trending words in this episode. So thank you once again for being a part of this.
Thank you.
So, for my audience, I think this was a very beautiful episode where, as in I have mentioned it two, three times, how we have touched two very different topics, but two very relevant topics in today's time. And thank you for staying connected. Thank you for watching and listening to this episode. If you have any questions for Mr. Sehgal, you can drop them down in the comment section, or you can mail me on shrutioutloud@gmail.com, and I'll definitely pass those on to Mr. Sehgal. And lastly, so Shruti Out Loud is a part of Shruti Out Loud production. This is my podcast, but we also produce podcasts for people who have that voice and they are looking for someone to just take care of the rest of the things. And all they need to do is just focus on their expertise, and the rest can be taken care of by Shruti Out Loud Production. Thank you once again, and we'll see you in the next episode. Also, lastly, before ending this episode, so this year I have given myself the goal of bringing in 100 episodes on Shruti Out Loud podcast. So let's go for it and see you soon. If you enjoyed today's episode and want to hear more, make sure to subscribe to our podcast. Don't forget to leave us a review and share it with your loved ones. And if you're ready to share your own voice with the world through podcasting, remember, I'm just an email away at shrutioutloud@gmail.com. It's shrutioutloud@gmail.com. Until next time, keep shining, keep growing, and keep embracing the beautiful journey of life. This is Shruti signing off.